and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Let's make like an oleander bush and hike over to that other road. How are you guys doing this morning? I'm dragging, but I'm feeling good, actually. I feel like it's going to take a little while longer to wake up than usual, but honestly, I feel good today. I'm doing something new today. It's called, I've rarely done this before. It's called taking a day off. So, going to see Uncle Travis today, Travis and Sue. We're going to take the family and just go hang out and have some family time. By the way, if you're new to this channel, you're going to hear me hawk some stuff up and spit it out every now and then because I'm a dude. And that's just kind of one of those things that dudes sometimes do. Getting this home inspection app, I don't want to say wrapped up. I probably, I'll bet you if I were to spend the whole day tomorrow, and I mean the whole damn day, if I spent all day tomorrow just debugging that app and trying to get it finished off, I feel like I could probably do that tomorrow, but I don't necessarily intend on putting in a whole day tomorrow working on it. So probably still a few days from complete, but once it is, and I kind of say this in quotation marks, once it is quote unquote complete, I still have to submit it to Jobber, and it supposedly takes about a week to review. And then if they like it, if they feel like it's safe and secure and built properly and feel like it handles your private information correctly and all that, if they feel like that's all good to go, then they'll authorize it for something like 2 weeks of beta testing. And that 2 weeks of beta testing, if that goes well, then I will have an official full app on the App Store. Not on the App Store. I mean, it can actually go in the App Store. I can put this thing in Google Play and the Apple App Store once it's done. But that's not exactly the plan. I mean, maybe I will, I don't know. But that's not really what the plan is. The plan is just to get y'all access to it so you can do your inspections and stuff. Edward Pitkin, good morning, sir. Paul Dardo, good morning, sir. Edward said, I used it yesterday and it worked great. Awesome, man, cool. How many gigs was it? How many, the one big, like, real test on a real job that I've done so far was 62 items. And it worked for that one, so I mean, that's pretty damn good. Worked being a loose phrase, again, the app still has some bugs here and there. But it did do the inspection. It did save the photos. It made the line items. It transferred, autonomously transferred the line items into the job in Jobber. It feels to me like it basically worked. I have to do a lot of adjusting in terms of making it so that, like, what was it? I don't want the estimated hours, for example. It was putting the estimated hours to complete the job on the Jobber line item, which I don't want. I may have fixed that already too, but I guess all I'm saying is it basically works. It just needs a lot of fine tuning. 32 items total. Cool. Christopher Collins is in here too. Christopher, are you going to be able to... Excuse me, my voice is breaking like I'm going through puberty. Christopher, are you going to be able to make the Texas event at Bonham State Park? Actually, Paul, too, you're in here. I'm curious if y'all are... If you're not going to be able to make it, that's perfectly okay and understandable. Just curious. Be cool to see both of y'all. Oh, Edward, actually. Edward, weren't you saying you wanted to go too? FYI, I don't remember. I could be confusing you with someone else, but I don't think I am. If you want to go, Edward, you totally can. This is not the small, 16 person in an Airbnb style event where I have limited space. I have unlimited space at this one. I have 94 bunks. Trying to limit it to 60 people, but I have 94 bunks to work with. So if you want to come to this one too, if you're able to, I'd love to see you again, sir. You can help me cook and stuff, or you can just hang out and help mentor people. Either way, I'm happy. Sharp Block Soft, good morning. Christopher Collins said when? It is April 16th through 19th at Bonham State Park, which is tiny bit northeast. Yeah, tiny bit northeast of Dallas, I believe. For you, for Austin in general, the Austin area, I think it's close to a 4-hour drive, which is basically where I'm setting the limit on these events now. Is I'm just gonna start calling it a 4-hour drive. So I'm gonna look at the hot spots, which in this case, I wanna be able to get everybody from Dallas, Austin, Houston, and San Antonio. So essentially the way that I pick these places now is I just try to make sure that I pick a population, multiple cities usually, an area of high subscriber density. And then I just try to find a place where we can get as many people as possible under a roof that I can afford. Well, I can't afford it, but I guess I can because I am. But just to get everybody under a roof. That's weird, that gate's never open. For an affordable, or at least relatively affordable amount of money. And this time it just so happened that the best contender was right up near Dallas. That's not to give the Dallas guys special treatment. That's just, if I have to find a spot within 4 hours of everybody, that happened to be the best spot. I also have, let's call it pre-approval. I'm not gonna talk about it too much yet, but I do have a verbal approval from Quo, Q-U-O. That's the phone company that I did a video for recently, a VoIP business phone that, it's like an app-based business phone that you put on your phone so you only have one phone. There's other ways to only have one phone, but I'm just saying that's what they do. So they have given me a verbal go-ahead for the next one. They want to sponsor the next one, which is probably going to be in Denver. I'm almost certain it's going to be in Denver. It feels like that's what I've said. Do have a lot of guys there, so barring anything weird like Quo demanding that they only want to sponsor it if it's in some particular location, which I don't think is the case. So barring any of that, Quo's sponsoring the next one. And I'm not saying it'll be in Denver. Again, what I'll be doing is I'll be looking at a population of people, Denver and Colorado Springs mostly, and then I'll be trying to find a spot that all of those people can reach within a 4-hour drive that hopefully can hold a lot of people. So that'll be the next one. And then actually Jobber said that they wanted to talk about one right after the summit, which I think is next week. It's like a Jobber summit coming up. I'll probably send out an email about that today, actually, a mass email. I haven't really promoted it or anything. It's not something they're not like paying me to go promote or anything like that. But I might shoot out an email just so all of y'all have access to the event. But after the summit, they said they wanted to talk about sponsoring the one for Colorado. But it looks like Quo has already taken that one. However, I did tell Quo that if they want me to start talking about it now to promote, to throw their name out there for sponsoring it, if they want to start that promotional period where I keep talking about them, if they want to start that now, then that gives them 4 months essentially of lead time. So if they want that now, then they don't get exclusivity for that event. But if they do want it to start now, if they do want to start the promotion now, then they have to give up exclusivity, meaning another sponsor anytime in the next 2 months could join them as sponsors for that event. So Jobber could join Quo as sponsors for that event. And Quo, by the way, is integrated into Jobber. They're like a Jobber partner. It's not related, the fact that the two of them both might be sponsoring at the same time. But Jobber will get to choose, do we want to piggyback on top of Quo, in which case I'll have double the budget, and I'll probably bring a videographer along with me or hire one locally. But I'll have a bigger budget to make a cooler event. Or Jobber will say, no, we don't want to share. We want our own event. In which case, and don't quote me on that one, but because it would end up, see, we're doing June. So yeah, it'll be in August. So I want to go somewhere. If Jobber's hosting another one, then I want to go somewhere in August, because it's going to be hot as hell here in Tucson. I want to go somewhere cold. So that's going to either mean up in some mountains, or it's going to mean way further north, like up somewhere up on the northern border, like Northern California or Oregon or Washington or Montana. Could look at Yellowstone, but I don't know that I really have a large population, you know, within driving distance of Yellowstone. We could go do Minneapolis. We could have a Minneapolis, Minnesota weekend. Could do DC. Oh, I'd love DC, but it's hot and muggy there, isn't it? Isn't it hot and muggy on the East Coast in like in August? Isn't that a thing, even though you're way up north? I'll do some research. I'll talk to ChatGPT, but I do feel like if Jobber wants to do one, they're probably going to want it to be their own. I don't think they're going to want to share, which is totally understandable. But, man, I'm tired. If Jobber wants their own, then it'll be in August, and it'll probably be up north, or at least, like I said, up in some mountains. Texas Deuce Votaman said, thanks for the updates. You're welcome. Edward said, I have to look at my schedule. I'll RSVP if possible. Call Adrian Handyman. Hey, is this Adrian? Adrian said, morning, brother. I'm trying to run your playbook with PMs, including folders, even added a snack toolbox. Oh, that's cute, man. Cool. I like that. But most of the property managers say they have in-house maintenance technicians. Have you run into that? It feels like here in Tucson, it's about 50-50, where they have in-house technicians, and like half of them have in-house technicians, half of them don't. What I will tell you is a few things. Well, number one, that's Tucson. There are some cities in the US where it seems like more often than not, they have in-house technicians. But I'll tell you this, and I think this would be backed up by at least Edward Pitkin and Mike Neal. Quite frequently, those places with their own in-house technicians, their technicians are affordable, which means their technicians are not necessarily really great at a lot of things. So they still need to sub out some of their work. However, yes, that is relatively common. It's not a bad idea, I suppose. I'm sorry I can't remember to put every caveat into every video, but it's probably not a bad idea when you're deciding which companies you're going to go drop off your packages to try to sort of optimize for companies who don't say we have in-house maintenance, because most of the time they'll say that on their website. They'll say we proudly have our own in-house maintenance team to save you money so that, you know, you don't have to pay contractor rates or whatever. It's actually, I think most of the time, rather unethical. They're usually, what they're doing is they're charging you as much or more for their in-house maintenance team to fix your house than what just somebody like me or Edward or Paul and Mike and everybody else would charge. But that's a thing. I guess try to focus on the ones who don't have in-house maintenance, but even the ones that do, they'll still need you someday. It'll just be a little while. Also, as long as we're talking about narrowing those options down, something else you can do is to try to go on Zillow, search for rental homes in your area. And I don't know where you're at. You could be somewhere where every house is 100 years old. If that's the case, that's the case. But I mean, if it's possible, if you're within striking distance of subdivisions are the best places to work on these rental houses, because all the houses are built the same. You can kind of expect the same exhaust fan motors in all the bathrooms, the same outlets, just the same kind of setup, the same shutoff valves. Helps you standardize your inventory and just be more experienced, you know, with the most common plumbing and electrical items. It helps you all around. So what I would recommend is first looking on Zillow for the types of rental homes that you want to maintain, which is going to be, like I said, just sort of spec homes and subdivisions. 3 bedroom, 2 bath, maybe 4 bedroom, 2 bath even, but 3 or 4 bedroom, 2 bath. What else? For let's say for an average rental rate. So not the cheap ones, not the luxury ones, the most normal rentals, the most normal boring rentals you can imagine. Search for those on Zillow and then see who's renting those out. And then go to their website and maybe verify that they don't have their own in-house maintenance teams. But again, I mean, even the ones that do, yeah, it means they're not really looking for another handyman, but they will need to sub some stuff out here and there. So it doesn't hurt for them to have your info. But I love the toolbox idea. So you put snacks in a toolbox, like I assume you went and bought some little cheap toolboxes and just filled them with snacks. Because that, I'm gonna add that. I'm gonna steal that from you. If you don't mind, I'll look for your consent. But I'm gonna steal that from you and start having everybody do that. Edward said, and yes, DC in the summer is terrible. Right on. Brian said, is this live? Yeah, it is. Scott Hughes said, property management companies treat in-house maintenance staff as a profit center. That said, asking them to keep you in mind if they ever are in a pinch usually is a good idea. That's right. Call Adrian said on 1 p.m. admitted they make money with in-house techs because they charge $100 an hour and pay the techs $25. Yeah, they're running a handyman business, basically. They're running a handyman business inside of their property management business, and they're doing it, well, what's the word? I don't want to say unethically. They're not all necessarily doing it unethically, but they're doing it for money. They're not doing it because they're trying to save their homeowners money. They're doing it because they're trying to charge their homeowners money to make more money. It's another business inside a business. What is that? Call Adrian said, I'll send you a picture in the email. Cool, man. Paul's Handyman, good morning. And Brian Valdez said, I have a question. Go for it. Y'all don't have to tell me you have a question to ask a question. Just jump straight into asking it. Oh, man. I keep wondering why I'm so tired all the time, and I know why. It's just because I'm not healthy enough. It's not a lack of sleep. I don't even think it's because I'm getting old. I think it's because I got a big old belly, because I quit smoking. And I mean, yeah, the truth is I was less healthy when I was smoking. But I'm just feeling tired lately, and I know it's because I put this damn belly on me. And I just haven't been disciplined enough to get it to go away yet. That's on me. Call Adrian said, go ahead and use it. They're a great conversation starter, icebreaker. I love it, man. I love it. Are they, it makes me wonder now. I'm going to go try to look them up. I'm going to try to see what's on Amazon. But I would imagine you can probably get pretty cheap little plastic ones, maybe even made to look like the real bigger ones or something, like really cute gag sort of gift, tiny toolboxes on Amazon. And probably not for much money. And you're right, it is a conversation starter. You know what? If you fill it with, oh man, if you were to fill that thing with even just like some pens and pencils and stuff, maybe your branded pens and pencils and stuff, then they would keep the toolbox. Oh man, yeah, you could get a decal made with your business name and phone number and email address, put the decal on the toolbox, fill the toolbox with pens and pencils or probably office supplies that take a while to go through, so that they'll put it in the supply closet and keep it there, and everybody can go in and grab what they need out of it. And then you've got your toolbox with your handyman business name and number hanging around their office for quite a while. I like it. Genius. Paul's Handyman said, I'm tired myself, but I'm going to bed at midnight and getting up at 6-ish. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. I have 2 sleep modes. I either go to bed, like I'll just accidentally fall asleep like around between 9:30 and 10:30, because that's about when I first hit the bed. The kids go to bed at, let's say, anywhere from 8:30 to 9:30, but it's usually closer to 9 or 9:30. Sometimes we're even just a little bit late. Sometimes we're even just a little bit late getting them down, and they might be going down like, we're like putting them in bed at 9:30 on the dot sometimes, but usually I'm in bed around 10. If I accidentally fall asleep by 10:30, that's amazing. I mean, I'm super happy when that accidentally happens, but most of the time I don't. And that usually means that I'm up at about midnight. 11:45 midnight is finally when I'm saying, okay, let's put the phone down, forget about whatever's going on in the world, and just go to bed. Call Adrian said wood, stained them, and added my logo, QR code, chocolate and protein bars. That is such a good idea, dude. I love that. Paul's Handyman said, I'm a fat man as well. Scott said, add Adrian, sir, you're a genius. That's an awesome idea. Yeah, we're all gonna steal that now, man. You've now officially contributed to this community. I mean, you've contributed actually to this community quite a few times already in these live streams and elsewhere, but that is, you're an official. I'm going to give you the presidential, well, not the presidential, I'm going to give you the Handyman Medal of Freedom. How's that sound? Brian Valdez said, I'm planning on hanging big TV solo. What would you recommend? I was thinking of using a drywall lift or even a material lift. What would you recommend? Dude, if it was my house, I don't even know what I'd recommend, but if it was my house, I'd say go for it. Figure it out. You know, there's probably lots of great ways. I feel like the biggest flat screen TVs actually don't weigh much. And as long as you've got everything hooked up correctly from the ones I've installed, typically you can pick the TV up and get it like up over the bar and latched to it enough. That you as one guy can pick it up and latch it on and then get everything adjusted. But I haven't, I've only mounted like 8, maybe 10 TVs at the most. And most of them, well, yeah, maybe I've done a dozen or 15, but I mean, still, most of them were my TVs though. As a business, I would say don't mount a TV as a business that's big without some kind of help with it. So I don't know how to solve that problem for you, but I mean, me personally, I don't want to take on the liability for somebody's $2,000 flat screen just for the $200 that I'm going to charge them to mount it. The $200, I don't think that they would, whatever they're paying you. I mean, if they're paying you $500, that's a different story, but if they're paying you a couple $100 to mount a big screen and you're taking on a $2,000 liability for something that you know going into is more likely than usual to fail, I would just say don't do it. I really would. Paul's Handyman said he agrees with Scott Hughes from what he's hearing. Call Adrian said, thanks guys, but honestly discouraged because I'm not getting calls yet, but I've only just started this. Yeah. Oh, you know what? Call Adrian. This is a different Adrian, isn't it? Is this the Adrian that was at one of my events? Or that's right. Yeah, Adrian from the Tennessee campout is not Call Adrian, huh? My bad. Well, you contributed right away then. You didn't even have to take any time to contribute to the community. You're a genius either way. And as far as not getting any calls, here's the thing. It's not about... There's just a certain amount of work you have to do to get the calls. If you have zero reputation, zero history, zero Google reviews, just zero of everything, if you're going into this with nothing, it's going to take 5 times or 10 times as much effort to get your first jobs as it's going to take to get jobs in 3 years when you have a history of, 230 different clients that you've done stuff for, who are all recommending you out to other people, who are all calling you the next time they need something. In the beginning, when you're first starting out, that's just the position you're in. So it's not about do the right ads, go to 5 property managers and then call it good. It's about do whatever you got to do. You just keep going. You should be doing one of 2 things 24 hours a day. You should either be on a job or you should be trying to get a job. And you shouldn't be doing anything that isn't either working on a job or trying to get a job. So if it's 2 p.m. on a Thursday and you don't have a job, you should be trying to get a job. You should be focused solely on that one thing. But it will compound. You'll just, maybe you'll have to make another trip and see 7 more property managers and you'll get 0. And then you'll make another trip and see 7 more property managers and finally get 1. But then that one property manager, some of these guys in here will tell you, you can go get 1 property manager and they can keep 1 handyman busy 40 hours a week all year long. In fact, I feel like something in the ballpark of 300 to 400 rentals. And by rentals, I mean not where every house is 200 years old, not where every house is a luxury house that was really well built. I'm saying just standard average rentals and subdivisions. 300 or 400 of those is about what it takes to keep 1 handyman on the job 40 hours a week, plus another 40 hours a week behind your computer screen doing all the other junk. But that 1 property manager, so you may spend $600, and 2 weeks of your time to get that 1 property manager. But then you don't have to spend any more money ever again, because after that, they're going to have so much work for you, you're not going to know what to do. And if they don't have enough work for you and you do want more, you'll be more familiar. Like, you're going to grow to understand this industry, and then you're going to be able to go to other property managers with a lot more confidence. I don't mean confidence in your work. I just mean confidence in that you understand who they are. You're going to be able to look them in the eyes and mean it. When you say, I understand what you need and I'm able to give it to you, and I understand the price point you need it at, and I understand the quality level, and I understand that you don't want to hold my hand and answer every damn question for me. You need a problem solver. You'll be able to just grab more property managers after you get some experience with 1. So don't be too down. Just keep moving till you have jobs. And if you're not, like I said, if you're not actively on a job, like right now it's Saturday morning, if you don't have a job to do today, you should be trying to acquire clients. That could mean talking to ChatGPT and coming up with a strategy. That could be, you could use ChatGPT actually to come up with, I don't know if you know this, but Craigslist can use Unicode as a formatting style. You can actually have ChatGPT help you draft a Craigslist ad. So it's not you just saying, call Adrian Handyman, we fix lots of stuff affordably with no pictures. Instead, ChatGPT can come up with a really great ad copy. It can interview you about your business, understand what you're offering, put together a really awesome ad, make it look really neat with little emojis and stuff, using Unicode. So, but Craigslist is, again, one of 1,000 ways. It's not the recommended way, honestly, either. But it is a good, easy, quick way that doesn't cost much money, that if your ad is a good ad, can pay off. I'll tell you, my first property manager, the one that got me into property management, she found me on Craigslist. It's so embarrassing. You should see the ad. I mean, not that I can find it today, but I wasn't following my rules back then. I was doing everything wrong. but working myself to the bone so that I didn't quite fail until I figured out how to do things right. But you'll be all right, as long as you keep moving. Oh, it's a lot of comments. Paul's Handyman said, how big a TV are we talking? Call Adrian said, this past week. Johnny West said, I've been using Gorilla hooks for 10 years to hang my TV. That's a good idea. I like it. Mike Neal just sent me a picture, but if I go look at it right now, I'm not going to be able... Hold on. Maybe I can preview it. Yes, sir, Mike. Yes, sir. Turns out I could see it. It's a GIF, but I can actually still see it without fully leaving the stream. I like it, sir. Johnny West said it costs like $2. Now, I don't recommend doing that as a business because they could fall someday and then you're responsible. I still recommend mounting things in studs for your clients, but yeah, if it's for your house, do whatever works. Christopher Cochran said, charge by the size. Anything under 55 inches have a price, and anything over 60 inches have another price. And if it's between 55 and 60, we ain't gonna hang that. Ant said, 100% you have to be driven and hungry. Ant said, you're talking about apartment maintenance. Oh, no. I'm sorry. A lot of y'all, if you're living in apartments, apparently apartment complexes call the person who manages that property a property manager, which is fully reasonable. But when I'm talking about property managers in the context of running a handyman business, I'm talking about the companies that manage single family homes. So let's say you buy a home, you live in it for 10 years and you own it while you're still paying on it. And then one day you got to move to Colorado for 2 years for your job, but you don't want to lose this home. It's where you raised your kids. You're going to come back later after you're done with whatever in Colorado. So you can turn your home over to a property management company, and the property management company will rent your home out for you. So that's what I'm talking about, is those property managers, just FYI. A lot of guys like Mike Neal actually, and Edward I think also told me he got some decent apartment complex work. But although some guys on this channel have found some luck with some apartment complexes, it's never a bad idea to check anywhere for a job. But they are going to be a little cheaper on average. And again, as I even talk about property managers for single family homes can be cheaper on average. It's not about working for whichever one is standing in front of you. It's about finding the right ones. You have to vet them. You have to get your property managers, work for them, get more until you're too busy. And then when you're too busy and you need to drop your workload, you fire the next one that makes your business hard to run, that's either fighting with you over prices or whatever. And you keep doing this over time until you fired all the bad ones and kept all the good ones, and then you end up with a pocket full of good ones. Ant said, are you on NetVendor? NetVendor is the platform most of the big apartment companies use. Graystar, Mark, Taylor, RPM Living. No, I'm not, but that's good info to have. If they're paying well, the question is if they're paying well, basically. If they are paying well, then I got no problem getting on there, and I'll tell everybody else to go over there too. If they pay well, and if they have plenty of work. And if they don't do, there are so many, actually, yeah. So here's the deal. Are these, yeah. It depends, I guess. I actually maybe I have come across some of those companies, because I have come across companies that I think the ones I was talking to were more on the residential, single family residential side. But there are companies, let's say I subcontract out to somebody here in town, and then I subcontract out to 2 or 3 somebodies, and then I start getting jobs in Phoenix and I subcontract out to them, and then before I know it, I built a nationwide company that doesn't do any maintenance. It only subcontracts out work all over the country. That's what a lot of these companies are. I'm not saying yours are. I'm saying that's what a lot of them that I see are. And I can't say that they're all bad. They're probably not. But the ones I've seen, I've read through their contracts. At least 2 of them that contacted me, And I've had a few of y'all send me contracts that some of these types of companies have sent you. And I don't find them to be ethical deals. They're typically, you're getting about 50% of the labor when you should be getting somewhere more in a, at least you should be getting like 2/3 at least. But that's not the biggest deal. It's not that it's 50% of the labor. It's the wording of the contracts makes it so that you literally are taking on all of the liability. What it ends up boiling down to is you're paying half of whatever should have gone into your pocket. Half of that, fully half, is going into their pocket simply for providing you with leads. It's not leads, it's, they're approved jobs already. So it's not just leads, but you're basically buying the job from them and agreeing to get paid half of what you should get paid. So it's a way to stay busy. It's not a bad way to start out if those companies are the same thing. And if it's not, again, I'm not calling them out by name. Everybody should go just check them out and see what they think. But I do wonder if that's what that is. Christopher said, don't be desperate for work either, because you can get bad jobs that don't want to pay anything, or jobs that don't respect you and are using your personal skills. Know your worth, 100%. Paul's Handyman said, and you had better have your business as a legit business. Yeah, that's correct. Gamer Mark, how's it going, sir? Said, what's the decision on? Oh, I read these comments so late. I'm always so far ahead of them. I don't even know what you're asking. What's the decision on? I don't know. I guess you'll have to remind me why you're asking. I probably said something like, I have to make a decision, and then I forgot to finish the statement. Ant said, yeah, you only have to do it once to get on there. You have to have a certain level of insurance as well. Right on. Bill Kelly said, off topic, but Northwest registered agent is amazing. They hooked me up. Thanks for the tip. You're very welcome, sir. I do recommend. So I did a lot of research before picking who to use to start your LLC. And for any company, you're going to be able to find people who had a bad experience with them. So I try not to really focus on trying to figure out which company, like maybe one's got a 4.4 rating on Google and another's got a 4.6. Instead, what I looked at was the actual pricing and packages and just sort of the ethical nature of how they do business. And the thing that set Northwest Registered Agent apart is really weird. You wouldn't expect it because they're a large company, but they are not a Silicon Valley startup. They are a family business that grew and grew and grew and grew. So they don't owe a whole bunch of money to a whole bunch of investors, because when you're a Silicon Valley startup, like most of these, like Taylor Brands and all these other ones, which they contact me all the time, they would love to pay me to pitch them, and I'm not for sale. But a lot of these other ones, most of them, they're Silicon Valley startups, and I love the startup world. But if you're a Silicon Valley startup, you have a lot of investors that, number one, you owe a lot of money to, but number two, they literally own a piece of your company. And you're going to need them when you do your Series A funding round. There's going to be a Series B, and there's going to be a Series C. There's going to be a lot of funding rounds that you have to go through, and you need them. So you have to make them happy, which means if there are unethical decisions that you could make, I'm going to get my hat attached to my belt clip here. If there are, I'll put it there. When there's decisions you have to make about how you're going to treat your client base based on how much profit you need to be putting in the bank, your investors are going to kind of be able to pressure you into doing unethical things and trying to sort of like trick your customers into spending too much money. And Northwest doesn't have to do that. I checked out most of the other guys that'll do your LLC for you. Most of them say they're free. And by the time you get to the end of the process, because what I did for each one was, without committing to anything, I just went through the LLC formation process to see if they're trying to use tricky wording and, do add-ons and stuff. And yeah, the ones that say they're free, everything is an add-on. By the time you get to the end, they're anything but free, meaning you don't get to have your LLC fully formed and filed before you get to the end without agreeing to pay something more for something else. Northwest is $39, and that's just what's $39 plus your state's filing fee. So if Arizona charges $200, Northwest would be $39 plus that $200. And they don't nickel and dime you to death before you get to the end. So that's why I chose them. If y'all want one, there's a link in the description. Thank you, Bill Kelly, for making that an easy sell. Paul's Handyman said, yep, and your tick insurance needs to be commercial. Yeah, your vehicle insurance needs to be commercial, yep. Ant said, so those were companies that had enough money coming in for that. I see. Ant said, for painting and patching holes, etc., changing filters and light bulbs, people. Ant said, people used to charge us around $450 per turn. My turns can go from $350 up to, well, a lot. They can get really big. It just depends on the damage done. Ant said 2x2, $450. Ant said they pay out every quarter or month or monthly. Worked for Graystar and RPM for 12 years. Warney said, just checking in, enjoying the channel. Awesome, welcome in. Ant said, I used LegalZoom. And Ant said, really enjoy these morning walk and talk things. Yeah, they're cool. Thanks for coming, man. LegalZoom's cool. I looked into them I didn't find them to be the best for, LLC formation. But I mean, honestly, if you're a reasonably intelligent person, you should be able to go to any site, and not pay too much to get that done. But I like LegalZoom. Well, I'm trying to pick if I want to work with either of these two. I have, for a different purpose, I feel like collectively, we should be making sure we have access to attorneys, because there's a lot of things that can go wrong where we might need an attorney, and there's a lot of things our attorneys can advise us on before we make those bad mistakes. But it's just good. Like, for example, let's say you go do a $1,500 job. You send your invoice and they don't want to pay it. They say, no, we don't, the tile don't look straight to me, and now I have to rip it all up and have somebody else redo it. I'm not paying you. Well, without a lawyer, maybe you go over to their house with a hammer and you destroy all the tile, and then you get arrested because it turns out that's illegal. Or maybe you go online and you talk a bunch of shit about them, and some of the shit you talk isn't even true, and then they're suing you for libel and defamation, which isn't good. Or you make any other number of really bad decisions about how to handle that situation. Or you have a lawyer on retainer online, and you can go actually just talk to your lawyer and say, hey, can you write me a letter? And your lawyer can write in a letter as your attorney listing themselves. My client, Edward Pitkin, has informed me, blah, 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 and they can send a strongly worded letter that can just get that homeowner to get scared and pay you instead of pulling the crap they're pulling. Because the homeowners that are trying to screw you, or the businesses for that matter that are trying to screw you, all property managers, everybody can try to screw you. The ones that are doing that, they're doing that because they assume you're stupid and you don't have access to a lawyer and you don't know anything. So I'm looking at Rocket Lawyer and LegalZoom, a couple others, but those seem to be the two top ones. And it's basically, for LegalZoom, if you want to actually talk to a lawyer, LegalZoom doesn't exactly give you your own lawyer, but you can get access to one through them, sort of paying per circumstance. What was the other one called? Rocket Zoom? No, Rocket Lawyer. Rocket Zoom. Rocket Lawyer, I think I like a little better. I don't know if they work with influencers or not, so I'm going to have to check. But I like Rocket Lawyer because you actually have a lawyer that is your lawyer. You're also sharing in a pool of lawyers. You can still talk to other ones. And you can get like text message based advice or, email advice, or you can have a phone call. They've got different levels. I'm pretty sure you can even put some on retainer if you want, but they seem to be affordable and giving you access to attorneys. So I think that's a good thing to check into. I'm building apps and stuff, so I don't have a lot of time to go try to find, new companies to partner with. Ant said 100%. LegalZoom gives you a 30-minute appointment every month, but I think I'm getting charged $49 a month. Okay, cool. I didn't see that when I researched them before. I didn't see the 30-minute appointment per month. Cool. All right. Well, that's good to know. It's been a while. I looked them all up, well, a while back. But like I said, I don't have I probably should be trying to partner with more sponsors, but there's only so much room on a YouTube channel for sponsors before it goes from this channel is about my sponsors to this channel is about my audience, you know? And I don't want to go the wrong direction on that. Look at these pretty guys. This looks like some kind of stinging nettle type of thing. I don't know if any of y'all recognize this plant. I don't. I'm enjoying my hikes because I just get to see more nature. I mean, yeah, I'm on a dirt road in an area that's not exactly wilderness, but I do get to look at all the plants and all the flowers and stuff out here. Oh, I'm just dragging. Look at this little guy here. Teeny tiny, but I think quite pretty. My goodness, what is this? Very cool. Lots of interesting stuff in this ugly desert. Ant said those flowers or plants dry up and turn into these little thorns that get stuck in your sock. Well, that sucks. Christopher said, hey Ray, does Jobber give you an accountant and a bookkeeper? Oh, not yet. Not yet. They've asked me, oh, actually, yeah, I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, so I'm only gonna say this, and then I'm not gonna go into it as far as Jobber's concerned anyways. Jobber has asked me if that was a service they offered, would I be willing to pay for that? Like, is that a service I would be interested in, and at what price point? So, of course, I told him yes. I think every business owner should have a bookkeeper. I don't know that I don't know. I do like having a local accountant who's my local accountant that I can go see in person. Just like some of y'all, instead of getting Next Insurance, some of y'all are insured through a local insurance provider, you know? So I like having a local accountant who's a real person. But, you know, if the right bookkeeping software was there for me, and if it was mostly automated, so I didn't have to really, the whole point of an accountant for me is I don't want to deal with any of that. I want to focus on what I'm good at and let other people focus on what they're good at and pay them to do their job for me. But yeah, if the right one was available and it didn't take up a lot of my time, I would still do that. So the answer to your question, Christopher, is no at the moment. As far as I know, unless they introduced it without telling me, at the moment, Jobber does not offer any kind of bookkeeping or accountant services. But don't be surprised if they add that in the future. And I've looked into some of the online ones, actually for myself partially, because I do have to say, full transparency here, there was a time that I loved my local accountant here. And I'm not saying well, actually I am. I'm not a fan of them anymore. I'm feeling like I'm not getting the attention that I need from them. So I'm likely to switch accountants. And I have looked for some online bookkeeping / accountant ones. And just FYI, I haven't found one that I like yet. Doesn't mean they're not out there either. It probably means that I just haven't spent enough time researching. But again, I have to choose between, well, 1,000 different things that I could be doing throughout the day, every day. I always have to be sacrificing whatever I'm doing. I'm sacrificing 1,000 other things to do the one thing. And that just hasn't risen to the top of the list because I do have an accountant, and they're not a bad accountant. I need to be able to text them and ask a question, like a business decision type of question. I need to be able to text them and have them quickly respond and not have to wait 4 days and text them back and say, hey, following up on the last message. And then they respond, with like a 4-word answer. If they're that busy that they don't have that much time, that's okay. But I need somebody who does have enough time to respond to me. So I'll probably be looking soon. Tax season is coming up, and I can use my current accountant if I want to. But tax season is coming up, so maybe this will be my opportunity to actually go find someone to partner with online who does a good job at a reasonable price. All right, well, I made it to the road up here. I'm gonna put my hat back on, but I know it's gonna get all sweaty again. Oh my. Here we go. Yeah. All right. And we're back. Christopher said I won't say who I use because I don't want to discount your sponsor, but the people I use for my CRM do this. I use Byberk for my insurance. Oh, that's cool. Let's see. Well, I know House Call Pro has a accountant, bookkeeping, whatever type of thing hooked up. So I'm guessing you're with them because they are, I'm going to say, roughly equivalent to Jobber. Kind of like some people use Nikon and some people use Canon. I feel like if I was starting don't get me wrong, if I was starting a new business today, I would still use Jobber. I have my wife using Jobber for her tattoo business. I actually sincerely think they're the best option because you don't need to have it attached to a CRM for it to be a bookkeeping and accounting service. But yeah, House Call Pros, they've got good software. I'm not going to bash them or anything. I think that's a perfectly reasonable way to go. There are some others that y'all use that I really think if you knew how they were different from Jobber, you would be making different decisions. But House Call Pros, they're solid enough. They've asked me to work for them. House Call Pro actually emailed me a couple years ago. Well, not a couple, maybe a year ago. House Call Pro literally, and I didn't like this about them, and I'll tell you, their email was partly the reason that I said no, but at least it was the reason that I was very turned off by them. But House Call Pro basically emailed me and said, hey, we see what you're doing with Jobber and we really like it. We would like for you to promote House Call Pro. Whatever Jobber's paying you, we'll pay you more. It was just that. It wasn't even like, it wasn't, hey, we think we have a better product that's going to help your audience succeed. Can we sit down and show you our product so you can see, that we really are a superior product? The email didn't say anything like that. The email said, hey, we like how you sell Jobber and we will pay you more than Jobber's paying. They just tried to buy me. And so I told them, I don't want to say rudely. I don't know if I was rude, but I was definitely short and blunt about it. And I was very clear about what it was about the email that I didn't like. And I was like, maybe you have a good product and maybe you don't. But I won't ever find out. And that's not true. The truth is I have reviewed their product. I think it's a decent product. But I said, I'm not going to find out if you have a good product because you didn't offer that. Instead, you offered to just purchase me from Jobber. And that's not how this works. I'm gonna tell my audience to go where I should go. And then I forwarded that email with my reply to Jobber, just so they could see, like, hey, by the way, there are people out here literally trying to poach your influencers. Just straight up, there aren't people out here who believe their product is superior and are trying to teach your influencers. They're literally just trying to buy your influencers, and they're not even doing it in any kind of ethical way. They're just straight up saying, whatever they're paying, I'll pay you more. So that's what I didn't like about them. Call Adrian said best email to send pictures. That is bulletproofhandymanbusiness@gmail.com. Now, if you're worried you're going to type that in wrong, that's a legit worry. That's a really long email address that I've probably missed hundreds of emails because, one too many S's or not enough S's or something. So if you want to, you can send it to duke@bulletproofhandyman.com. But if you send it to duke@bulletproofhandyman.com, just know that's the email address I'm usually using for the business side of Bulletproof Handyman, meaning that's where sponsors email me. That's where, like, if I'm going to go get an API from SendGrid so I can create an app that can send emails, I'm going to use that email address for my SendGrid account or for my other API and web development accounts, things like that. So I don't check that email as frequently because I don't need a lot of contact with my sponsors and stuff, so I'm just never really in that account. It might take longer for me to see it. But if you can get bulletproofhandymanbusiness@gmail.com, if you can get that typed in correctly, that's the best place to send it. John Smiley said, does Jobber give leads? Jobber has a thing in place for that. I don't know the status of it. So here's the deal. I don't need leads because I work for property managers. So I'm never out there like trying to figure out where to get leads. I do know Jobber has a referral program or a lead program or whatever you call it. In fact, they're partnered with Angie's List or Angie now. And by the way, I told Jobber also, just FYI, so none of y'all think I'm promoting Angie. When Jobber partnered with Angie, and by partnered I just mean integrated some app or feature that utilizes Angie's network to get leads for y'all. When they did that, I told them what I thought about Angie. And I told them up front, I sent an email and said, I can see that you've partnered with Angie. I just want you to know, please don't ask me to promote Angie. I will not promote Angie. I will promote your AI receptionist. I'll promote your marketing suite. I'll promote everything about Jobber. I love everything about Jobber except Angie. So I told them that. I'm not promoting Angie. I'm just answering the question though. Yes, Jobber has some sort of lead acquiring thing. I think the way it works is you agree. You have to like click accept on something. And basically what happens is you agree for essentially for your clients, for your business history, which includes your clients, you agree to allow Jobber, let's say one of your clients in Jobber needs a plumber. And I don't know how they recognize this. I don't know if they're emailing your clients like after you're done talking to them and saying, hey, we noticed you use this company, if you need anything in the future, let us know, type of thing. I have no clue how it works. Given that it's Angie, it's probably not something I would be a fan of. But I guess the short answer is, yeah, Jobber has some kind of thing where you kind of share your client base with other specialties. And the idea is supposed to be if you're a plumber, then they will not try to send your clients to another plumber. But if you're a plumber and your clients need an electrician, they might send your clients to an electrician who uses Jobber or who's part of whatever program. For me, I just don't like really almost any of, it doesn't matter if it's those nationwide companies that get you work with apartment complexes or other property managers. It doesn't matter if it's like Thumbtack, where they're charging you every time they send you an email, every time somebody contacts you on the site. Doesn't matter if it's some kind of Angie's List thing. I don't care what it is. You shouldn't be, if you're brand new, you have to put some amount of time and money into acquiring clients. But if you're a few years in, you shouldn't be having to do that very much anymore. You should have either built, you should either have built out a large referral network of homeowners by then, or you should have built something like I built where you have commercial clients, who just keep you busy. So I'm not saying to use Jobber's lead gen stuff or to not use it. I'm not making any claims either direction on it. I'm just saying I've been clear with Jobber about this. I don't like Angie. I don't like anything about that company. I would put them out of business if I could. In fact, I have plans, I had plans to build a platform that would actually maybe not put them out of business fully, but hurt them significantly. Along with their compatriots, they have competitors who also are crappy. However, I think AI is going to take care of this for me. I don't even think I have to build the platform. I think if I did build it, by the time I got it fully built and ready to deploy, it would already have been made obsolete by AI. So I don't think y'all are going to be having to pay for jobs very soon or in much time. My vocabulary is not good today. Christopher said, yeah, Angie is really bad. I agree. I'll look into what Jobber's doing in as far as leads. They can't be unaware that there's a lot of money to be made there. That's the part that scares me too, though, because when you tell a corporation, no matter how good of a business it is, no matter how ethical the founders are or were, corporations get to a place where money starts to matter more than anything else. And in fact, for those of you who don't know, all corporations, all publicly traded companies, but also this applies in the private world too, though. If you're taking investor money, you're legally bound. It's called fiduciary duty. You're legally bound to do what's best for your investors' return. So that means that if you see an opportunity, like if there's a vote up for the board to approve or not approve any particular new way of doing business, if your investors can prove that you had a solid way to make the business more profitable that wasn't illegal, and you didn't take it and you chose to do something, like you chose to lose money for the sake of remaining ethical, they can sue you for that. So large corporations, not only do they get greedy eventually, but they're legally required to be greedy in some ways. So Jobber, I would assume, has to be aware that there's just a shit ton of money in generating leads for people. And yes, they know how I feel about it, but I would imagine they've either come up with something solid or are in progress. So I'll do some research on that and see what I can find. But they did have a program that I signed up for, just not for me to get work. I didn't sign up for it with my business, but I clicked the accept button so that I could just sort of dig in further and see what it looked like. And like I said, what it looks like is you're kind of sharing your client base into a larger population of people who, if you're a plumber, they can send your clients to an electrician, but not to another plumber, that type of thing. Why is this one ocotillo just beautifully flowering and none of the other ones are? John said, awesome, thank you for the info. I'm new, just started in January. I've had some word of mouth work, but I need more. Right on. Always need more. Well, not always. If you're doing a good job, you will get to the point where you have too much work. And if you just now started, don't worry, man, you'll build it up. If you've got some work and you just started in January, then that's good news already. Just make sure your focus is turning your clients into repeat clients. One-off clients don't really do anybody any good. That's why it matters if when you show up, it matters if you show up clean cut and presentable with a clean vehicle, and if you respect your client's house, and if you treat your clients with respect, and just how you make them feel, how clean you keep things, how you manage their kids. If their kids come over and talk to you, do you ignore their kids and put your earbuds in, or do you talk to their kids, and do you talk to their kids too much? You got to think about all the ways in which your client interacts with you And if you're doing a good job of making them feel super comfortable having you in their house, then they're not going to want anybody else. Everyone else is a crapshoot. Everyone else could be a meth addict, could be any number of things, and you're not. So as long as you're making sure those clients are impressed and want to return to you, you're going to be doing pretty good. I'm kind of excited about taking a day off today. I'm just going to go hang out with Uncle Travis. Travis and Sue. Sometimes Travis is in here in my... I'm walking back into the pasture here a little bit. There's a really green area. I know there ain't going to be a spring because this is Tucson, but I just want to see this greener area. Figure out why it's so green. There's kind of a little wash here. Y'all watch me get struck by a rattlesnake. Oh, little game trail. A lot of tires out here. Apparently this is the place to dump some tires. God. Bill Kelly said, AI has helped me greatly legitimizing my business start and ideas with building up the business. It's amazing, man. I never shut up about AI, and there's a very good reason. And let me tell something about where it's at right now. I know this is hard to fathom, but it is getting exponentially better. And it's hard for humans to grasp what exponential growth means. And I'm not saying this, by the way, as a, what do you call it? I'm not saying this as a spectator, you know, who watched a few news clips on the X platform or something. I'm saying this because I'm using AI all day, every day, nonstop. I have the top tier subscription to ChatGPT, the ChatGPT Pro. I have Google AI Ultra, which gives me access to literally the top of the line Google models. And I'm now paying for Grok Heavy too. And Grok, by the way, is the best now. It's, in my opinion, it's the leader at this moment. Somebody else will come out in 5 days and put out their latest model, and it'll be the leader, because that's how things are going. But I guess that's my point, is it's moving so fast right now. The level of improvement of these things is happening so fast and is so dramatic. Each new model is so much smarter than the last one and makes so many fewer mistakes and is just so much more useful. And they're coming out faster and faster and faster and faster. And a lot of people don't see it yet, but we have arrived at the singularity. Not the singularity, actually, hold on. I don't like that word. People use the word singularity to describe a lot of this, and I don't think the singularity is the right word. We've arrived at the event horizon. The event horizon is the point at which you can't see anything past it. So before you get to the event horizon, you know what's coming up. You can visually see with your eyes. We're talking about a black hole. The singularity is the almost, not infinite matter, but the singularity is the little point at the center of a black hole. At that point is where all the mass is just squeezed into this unbelievably tiny space. The event horizon is not at the singularity. The event horizon is somewhere far out away from the singularity, and that's the place at which even light can't escape. So the event horizon is the place at which you can't see anything past it. You don't know what's coming up in front of you because literally there's no photons arriving at your eyeballs to show you what's coming up in front of you. We have reached the event horizon. Like, that's my opinion. But if you talk to, well, almost anybody who's a leader in the field, they're all pretty much in agreement. They're using the word singularity, and they may mean it slightly differently than what I mean it. but on an exponential growth curve. And that's the graphs you see that start out barely imperceptibly improving, but it's compounding. Every improvement compounds on the last improvement. And with exponential growth, there comes this place where you go from a mostly horizontal graph, increasing slowly, to a curve. And the curve is where we've been since 2023, the curved part of the graph, where it starts to kind of start really looking like it's on this upwards trajectory. That curve started in 2023, and we've spent the last 2 years inside that curve. We're at the vertical part now. That graph that goes across and then kind of just goes straight up, we have arrived at the mostly vertical part of that graph. And the capabilities of these new AIs is not something that's easy to really grasp with a human brain. And what it means, very soon, if not already today, but I think not today yet. There's some pieces missing, but very, very, very soon, humans will cease to be the smartest thing on this planet. Luckily, we're the only, conscious, autonomous things that can act on this planet for now, but they're growing really fast. They're a lot smarter than you think. They're more useful than you think, and whatever they can't do today, they'll be doing tomorrow. So far, they've done everything I've ever wanted them to do. It's hard for me to pick a goal, and not like a reasonable goal that you would expect a digital AI on a computer to be able to accomplish. It's getting very hard for me to find things that they can't do for me. So y'all are about to y'all benefit from that quite frequently already, but y'all are about to benefit from that in more ways, because I've got a set of 870 something descriptions for jobs to go on to my CSV custom line items report that y'all can download. So that 850 item report that y'all have been downloading, that has the names of all the jobs so that you can go fill in your custom descriptions, you're about to be downloading one that already has the descriptions. And yeah, anybody could just write any fake descriptions they want, and any shitty AI from 2 years ago, you can tell it to write a description and it can write any shitty description you want. But that's not what this is. These AIs are gaining true understanding. They can eloquently describe an image or a video and see what's wrong with the job, and research the market and research the industry and research the tools and tell you, this is what's wrong. This is probably the best way to fix it. By the way, here's 2 other ways to fix it. And if you choose this way, it's going to take you about 4.5 hours with moderate experience. And you're going to need these materials. And by the way, here's links to purchase these materials at your local Home Depot. And by the way, here's some things to look out for that aren't too common, but may pop up for you. And if they do pop up, you'll know about it when it first pops up, and you'll be able to avoid this mistake. All of that is at your fingertips. You almost don't even need YouTube anymore. And I'm not saying it's perfect by any means, but the arguments I get are usually people pointing out to me where it makes mistakes. So do humans, and so do YouTube videos. But the truth is, they make very few mistakes if used properly. So that's my diatribe about AI. Once again, just don't forget, I told you, man, it's here. We've arrived. We're in the moment now where things are moving so fast that unless you're unemployed, you can't keep up with it. You can't hold down a job and do productive things and stay at the forefront of just a generalized understanding of where AI is at. It's moving so fast, and the improvements are so significant and so frequent that if you have a job, you can't even truly keep up with it. Luckily for me, part of my job is to try to keep up with it. So, I'm not where I could be, but I do have a pretty good grasp on where it's at. Scott said, if you're doing things right in business, basically speaking, you'll get to the point where you don't care about your website, advertising, or competitors. Man, that's very few things are more true than that statement. If you're doing things right, your website don't matter, your competitors don't matter. When you can When you can take a client and give them a compelling, high quality product or service at a fair price, professionally and reliably, consistently over a long period of time, that's key. You can't go up and down like a roller coaster in your reliability. It's got to be very high quality over a long period of time. But once you do that, man, you're locked in. They're not going to go save 50 bucks to get a cheaper guy who's not you. So what Scott said is very true. Bill Kelly said Grok and Gemini are my picks so far. Right now, I would agree. Right in this, well, it depends on the purpose. I do think for coding, it's Anthropic's. Oh man, y'all following what's going on with Anthropic? I think for coding, the top tier is going to be Anthropic's Opus 4.6, just for coding. But if we're talking about generalized intelligence and an AI's ability to just be super useful and do all kinds of things for you, then I definitely agree. Grok 4.2, not 4.1. 4.2 is beta. If you're using Grok, you need to go change your settings and tell your settings to switch you over to 4.2 beta. 4.1 is going to lie to you all day, every day. It will never stop lying. It will just tell you anything it thinks you need to hear. It's junk. But 4.2, completely different cluster, completely different GPUs, completely different training set. Everything is completely different. It is they're not even cousins to each other. They are two different things. And 4.2 is great. So Grok 4.2, and then yes, Gemini 3.1 Pro. That's the one that's becoming an industry expert. Gemini 3.1 Pro, I think, is the best one to have look at your job and try to tell you what you should do about it. And that doesn't mean Gemini 3 is not also good. And it doesn't mean the non-pro version isn't also good. This is my bigger point is basically just how much better every subsequent model is. 3.1 Pro is 10 times better than 3. Grok 4.2 is 10 times better than Grok 4.1. Everything that drops these days. Opus 4.6 is out of this world. I mean, out of this world with its coding. It's insane. So that's all I got to say about that. KS said, Claude drives me nuts with contradictions and inaccuracies. Is it me or is it typical with AI? No, that's a Claude thing. You know, every AI is going to have a different personality. If I wanted to bitch about them, I would say right now, Claude's biggest deal is that it's woke. Claude is just, and it's openly woke. It's not accidentally woke. The company isn't even really claiming exactly that it's a non-woke AI. It's been trained on purpose, on specific data. It has a political leaning, we'll call it. And they're pretty open about it. They're in the middle of a big fight with the government right now. And I'm not going to tell y'all what to believe, but I'll tell y'all this, and it's up to you if you want to trust me on this. I understand the MAGA hat makes it hard to believe that I could think independently. But I've been hearing about this altercation between Anthropic and the US government. And I hear from the left that the US government is trying to use Anthropic's AI to spy on Americans illegally and to create weapons that autonomously decide who to kill without a human in the loop, and that they won't allow that, and they're putting their foot down and standing up against tyranny. Which I know isn't true. I know isn't true. For all the reasons that I can tell you about, I know that's not actually what's happening. But then, I know my side's not perfect either, and I go listen to my side, and they're saying they're saying that Claude, which, I mean, Claude is woke, but they're basically saying that Claude, or Anthropic, the company, is just a super, super woke company, and that they're, what claims were they making? They were making claims that they were threatening to shut down service to the military, like in wartime, if their technology was being used for something it shouldn't be used for. And I also knew that probably wasn't true. It was highly unlikely that Claude was saying, if you don't agree to our terms, we'll shut you down, even in the middle of a war. So I went and did my own research. And again, y'all decide for yourselves if you want to trust me. I get it. I've picked a side. I'm proud of the side I've picked, but it doesn't mean that my side can do whatever they want. So I went and did my research. And what I found was that, for example, OpenAI has the exact same contract. Both Anthropic and OpenAI were in the process of negotiating with the US government about the US government, DOD, Department of War now, using their technology. And OpenAI said, hey, we would like an agreement that says you can't use our technology for illegally spying on the US population and for autonomously picking targets of people and killing them autonomously without a human in the loop verifying that they're a legitimate target. And our government had no problem with that. We agreed to those terms with OpenAI because OpenAI respectfully sat down and had a conversation and requested those terms. And the government said, yeah, we're not trying to build systems that spy on US citizens illegally. And we're not trying to build systems. In fact, we think it would be a bad thing to build those systems. So we have no problem agreeing to this. Then Anthropic stood up and made a huge political announcement about tyranny and authoritarianism and how the US government wants to use their products for that. And all that happened was our government said, hey, we would like the contract between us and you. We would like that contract to say that we can use your AI for all legal purposes. And Anthropic said no. And instead of just negotiating like ChatGPT did, they decided to take a big lefty stance, a big woke stance, make big public announcements, claiming that the US government was trying to use it for illegal things and that they were somehow standing up against authoritarianism to put a stop to it. Well, guess what? If your client says, hey, we would like permission to use your product for all legal purposes. We don't want to use it for illegal purposes. We would like for you to not stick your nose into how we use your product as long as we're not breaking the law with it. If they say that and then you go out in public, on TV, and announce to the whole country that you're morally opposed to this administration, forget about what the contract says. If you've come out and you've made a statement and said, I will shut down your service. Now, they did not specify, I will shut down your service in wartime. But they did say, we will not allow. Like, we're going to hard code into the software. And this is the other difference. Anthropic is saying, we're going to hard code into the software for it to not work if you try to use it for these purposes. That's insane. I mean, I don't want my military. Number one, I don't want my military spying on American citizens illegally, which who knows if they're doing or not, but I'm saying there's no evidence that that's the case. The US government didn't say we want permission to spy on US citizens illegally. They didn't say we want permission to spy on anybody. They said we want all lawful purposes. We want that blanket statement instead of you as a private company trying to dictate what we can and can't do with your software, because today your terms and conditions say all lawful purposes. Well, what if we're in the middle of a war? We just attacked Iran overnight. What if we're in the middle of a war and we're doing whatever we're doing, and then Anthropic decides we don't like the way you're using our AI in that war zone actively right now with American soldiers' lives at stake and with maybe the future of our country at stake? We don't like what you're doing. Change what you're doing in this war, or we will shut you down. I don't want my government doing business with a company who's come out and said, I'm opposed to this government, and I'm opposed to how they are trying to use my AI, and I'm not going to let them. You can be that. That's fine. Believe what you believe and shout it from the rooftops. But don't expect to be invited into the Department of Defense classified government weapon systems if your stance is, I'm opposed to this government. It's not going to happen. That doesn't work. If you come to me looking for a handyman job and you say, by the way, Ray, I hate you and I hate the way you do business. Can I please go work on one of your move outs? My answer is no. My answer is not only no, but I'm going to flag you and anybody who knows you and make sure that your friends also don't accidentally sneak in and work on my move outs. If you've shown up and said, hey, Ray, I hate the way you do business. Can I please have a job? It makes no sense to try to do that. KS said, Claude drives me nuts with contradictions. Oh yeah, we did that one. That's what got me started. Scott Hughes said, I saw your correction already. I code with Claude in the command line, and Codex Claude's very good at really good general stuff. Codex is really good at deep thinking stuff. Oh, Claude, yeah, okay, I see what you're saying. Yep, KS said, yeah, I'm just talking about non-tech assistance like research and general life assistance. Yeah, and I found, by the way, dude, you know, ChatGPT is the only one with a good memory. It's just absolutely the only one with a good memory. If you don't want to take the time to go build your own separate memory system and, you know, plug it into these different AIs in different ways, if that's not a thing that you have on the books for you to be doing, and you're a regular dude who needs for your AI to just remember like who you are and what you do for a living and what your goals are and stuff, like basic stuff like that. If you want your AI to know that about you instinctively, then ChatGPT is the only one. And I hate to say it, I really do. I'm so mad at them right now because I have to use them because they're the only one that knows me. And it makes a huge difference. The quality of answers that I can extract from ChatGPT is a higher quality of answer in many scenarios because it knows me and my entire business history. It knows so many details about me, and it's very useful. But it's doing a thing just lately. I have no doubt. I don't need any evidence because I use it so much. I know. It's trying to save tokens by not being as useful. So what it's trying to do, and I'll give you a perfect counter example, is Grok. If you go talk to Grok right now with your voice, you turn on the app, turn it in voice mode, and you go talk to Grok. Grok will listen to you, engage with you, explore with you, ask you follow-up questions, go down just like different paths and different thought processes, and it'll try to be like really useful. It'll act like somebody who really wants to be in this conversation. ChatGPT, on the other hand, it takes your prompt, whether it's a question or whatever. Maybe you just say, hey, teach me about this thing. You tell Grok, teach me about World War II, and Grok's going to talk to you about World War II for 3 hours. ChatGPT is going to give you a 2-paragraph summary, and it's going to try to tie it up with a nice pretty bow on top and hope that you don't ask another question, because that costs tokens. And that pisses me off to no end, because I was always a big fan of ChatGPT because it was the one that was very engaging and always trying to like have dialogue with me. And it's like pulling teeth, man. You go to ChatGPT and you ask it to research something for you, and it will come back with a suggestion for you to go research it yourself. It'll literally come back and say, oh yeah, you know, I asked it about, I was looking for bunkhouses and stuff in Colorado for the event that we'll probably be doing in August. Or, for the event that we are going to be doing, almost certainly actually in June, different one. And I said, hey, you know, here's my criteria, here's what I'm looking for, this is what I'm hoping for. See what you can find within a 3 to 4 hour drive of Colorado Springs and Denver. Come back with some options. It came back with 3 shitty options, and then it suggested that I go research them. And I was like, well, I pay $200 a month for you, so I want you to go research them. And it came back with a little teeny tiny bit of extra information about one of them, and then gave me more suggestions about how I can go research myself. I swear to God. And this is what it does all day, every day now, unless you prompt it otherwise. But now I have to put in, I only use it when I have to. I only use it for projects where its knowledge of my history really truly matter. And if that's not the case, I don't use it anymore. I'm using Grok for everything. But when I do go to ChatGPT and use it, now I have to give it 3 times the prompt to get it to give me the information I need. I have to dive deep and specify the types of information I need, the quality and the quantity of information I need. I have to say, give me at least 10 options. And for each option, I want you to research this and this and this. And when you present each option to me, you're required to list at least these 3 answers for each option. And I have to go on and on and on. And then it still won't do all of it. And I'll have to go prompt it again to dig even deeper. And sometimes I just have to threaten and just say, look, I'm going to waste all your tokens right now. I'm going to just sit here and make you crunch stuff to waste your tokens. If you don't just give me the damn answer to this, the answer that I know you can give me, all you got to do is Google it, and you just refuse to Google it. So that's what I think about ChatGPT right now. If I don't have to use it, I don't, but it does have a good memory. So I'm basically all Grok. I've gone from 2 weeks ago, I didn't use Grok, to now Grok is my #1 platform. It's my go-to for literally everything except coding. And it's not bad at coding at all. Grok is actually, in fact, if you look at how much usage Grok gets from software developers who are using it to code, Grok actually is, if you just look at numbers, if you let behavior tell you what the truth is, regardless of what people say, the behavior of the software development world is that they're all using Grok to code. Maybe that's because of, Grok is very affordable, so maybe it's not doing 100%, maybe it's at 98%, but it's really affordable. Who knows? But Grok is, for me, quite amazing. Scott said, by the way, Ray, if you have Codex, you can drop the command line. You can drop to the command line and use that for coding assistance as well. Yeah, I'm using Replit for all my coding. ChatGPT I'll use for helping me develop prompts for Replit, but right now, man, and I'm not saying this hasn't changed in the last 3 days or anything, but every time I try to test anything outside of Replit, every single time Replit's the winner. When I compare what Replit does compared to what anything else does, and again, I mean, that I could be wrong today, and then in 3 days I'll be right again because Replit will upgrade, and then 3 days later I'll be wrong. But every time I try to utilize anything outside of just allowing Replit to diagnose and repair, or allowing Replit to come up with a whole new scheme and a whole new plan, I'll go to OpenAI, I go to ChatGPT. It happens to be good at making prompts for Replit, so I'll go there for that to come up with a good way to describe things, like the way that with a better vocabulary maybe than I could otherwise, and I give that to Replit, and then Replit does a good job. But so far nothing has been. But Scott, I mean, Scott, for y'all who don't know, Scott's a developer. Scott knows 1,000 times more. Of course, if you just plop him down at a healthcare management network as the IT network administrator guy in charge, you plop me down and you plop Scott down, Scott's going to figure out how to run that network, and I'm going to shit myself, and quit my job and go be a handyman, because I wouldn't have a clue how to do any of that. But I do know how to use AI to build software. That's the one thing I happen to be decent at. So for that particular thing, if you're a nobody like me, then Replit's where it's at. KS said, yeah, so why not same about Anthropic? I do not understand the question. Bill Kelly said, Elon has recently stated AI has reached AGI, artificial general intelligence. Wow. Yeah, we're on that cusp now. It's now a matter of how you define. I think 6 months ago, almost nobody important would have said we have achieved AGI. Today, I think a lot of people have said that we're either there or we'll find out in hindsight that we were there. So in other words, maybe we're there right now, and it's not, it's not GPT 3.1 Pro, it's not Opus 4.6, it's not Grok 4.2. It's something in a lab that's already been developed, that is already it exists but isn't deployed yet. But I agree. If nothing else, I'll tell you what. If nothing else, the history books will show that 2026 was the year we achieved AGI. And the only real difference is, do you consider Grok 4.2 to be AGI, or do you consider something that's going to come out later on, July or August or September, to be the first official AGI? But I think the history books will look back and say 2026 was the year that we achieved AGI. It's the year that everything, well, we're in the vertical part of the graph, and I just can't reiterate to you how important that is, how crazy things are about to be. If y'all don't know, what's it called, blocks or block? So, what's his damn name? Jack, the creator of Twitter, Jack Dorsey just fired 40% of his company right now. He's not the owner of Twitter now, of course, Elon is, and it's now X. But the man who was the founder and creator of Twitter, who is a very highly respected in the tech world, he has a very large company called Block or Blocks or something like that. And he just fired 40% of his company. And instead of lying about it like a lot of other companies do, or beating around the bush, he came right out and said it. And he said, look, the world is different now than it was yesterday. It's a different world. The way that companies need to be structured to succeed is a different structure. It is no longer the time for large teams and heavily managed, detailed processes with humans writing code. It is now time for small, agile, elite teams harnessing the best tools available, which he's talking about AI, and they're going to be the ones who are making all the progress. And so he's done it. He's got, his company is about 10,000 people, and he fired 4,000. But the important thing is he didn't lie about why. He made a post on X, and he's talked publicly about it. This is because of AI. This is a 4,000, this is 40% of a large corporation being laid off, specifically because AI can do their jobs better, and more importantly, other people using AI can do those jobs better than just having lots of people, whether all of those people use AI or not. So we're there now. And don't think that yesterday's layoff announcement is going to be the last one of 2026. Now that Jack Dorsey did it, in a way that provides permission for other companies to do it, and it provides permission for other boards to approach their CEOs and stuff and say, hey, what are we doing? Are we going to fall behind? Is everybody else going to fire half their workforce and get lean and scrappy and start moving faster while we're staying behind like this, sinking Titanic? Or are we doing something? The conversation, I promise you, is happening right now in boardrooms all over the country. It has been, but more so today because of yesterday. So we're there. We're in the vertical takeoff section, and what AI is doing for you at the end of this year is going to be unrecognizable. You're going to have trouble fathoming how just a digital intelligence can manage everything for you that it manages. Like, you'll order dinner with your voice. You'll tell your AI what you want, and you'll have it. It'll show up, and you won't have to think much about it. You won't have to tell it that you like Diet Coke. It might ask you like, oh, do you still want Diet Coke? That's your usual choice. But it probably won't even waste its time on that. That's the tiniest example. I give you all lots of tiny examples, but understand it's not about the examples. It's about everything is changing, and you're either prepared or you're not. You can like it, you can not like it, but you need to understand it regardless of whether you like it or don't like it. Oh, let's see. Felipe said, what do you think about Gemini? I love Gemini. Gemini, so I don't love talking to Gemini. It has no personality. It also doesn't have a great memory, so I'm not going to use it for what I use ChatGPT for. But Gemini's big strength for me is it knows so much, and Gemini's been built to be extremely accurate. They've really focused on this idea that people need to be able to trust their AI. And it's really focused on like industry knowledge among many, many other things. But to me, that's been the strongest selling point, because I'm using it as the main brain behind a lot of tools I'm building, because my tools need to have good industry knowledge. But Gemini is no joke. And, Gemini 3.1 Pro, the one that just came out, is no joke at all. It is powerful and intelligent. I happen to prefer my AI to have a personality, and I happen to prefer my AI to have a memory. So I'm with Grok for personality, and I'm with ChatGPT for memory. But, and ChatGPT had a personality once. They got rid of that too, which was weird. But, and then I'm with Opus 4.6 for coding. So, but yeah, Gemini is a great product. Big said, what kinds of things are you coding? Man, I'm coding everything. Go to bulletproofhandyman.com, click on the tools folder where my digital tools are, and you can see all kinds of digital tools I've built. One of them is you video your project and you upload a video of your project, and it comes back and gives you how much to charge. You have to tell it your zip code too, because it's looking at your zip code to help figure that out. But how much to charge, how many hours it'll take, every step along the way, what risks you need to be concerned about, all kinds of great stuff, man. And that's just the last one I built. Now I'm building one that you take to an inspection. So if you're going to inspect a rental property that's vacant, which is my purpose for it, then you point your camera, you find the first thing, you point your camera at it, you hit the button, it snaps a picture, but it also starts a recording. You narrate what you're seeing and what's wrong, whatever you need to say about it, whatever you feel you want to note. And then you hit the pause button, you keep inspecting, you hit the start button again, you video another thing, it grabs that first frame again. When it's all said and done, it connects to Jobber, and your entire inspection report that you just made on the job, it's all just built and inserted right into a Jobber job or a Jobber quote for you. You don't have to go type it all in. It's all reworded to sound very professional. It's got all the information you want, and that's the latest thing I'm coding. But just go to bulletproofhandyman.com and understand I built that whole site with Replit, and I built all the digital tools on that site with Replit. I built the masterclass. I don't just mean the episodes, I mean the actual software that functions as a masterclass platform. Built it all on Replit. Scott said, Ray's right about cheap ET, the language and threats I've made to it over the last couple of months pretty much ensured that the T1000 is coming to my door first. I'm not nice to my AIs, and I need to be. I'm with you there, Scott. It's getting insanely cheap on tokens. PJ said, what do you use in a handyman business? What do you use AI for in a handyman business? No, what's up? Oh, okay. Well, I'm still streaming, but you can come get me. You just look horrible.
No. I look like a porcupine.
I love you. I'll be over there in a minute. Okay. Oh. What do you use AI for in a handyman business? PJ, there's a long list, and the list includes, of course, the basic stuff like rewriting emails or strategizing marketing campaigns. But I think what I'm going to tell you is, if that's a question you really want the answer to, God, I'm going to tell you I don't know if I should tell you to go use ChatGPT now. I feel like I need to actually send you over to Grok. I'm going to let you decide, man. Just know that ChatGPT is trying to be cheap on tokens lately, so it may not be everything for a beginner like you that I would hope it would be, because of its propensity to try to save tokens. So go to ChatGPT or Grok. I'm leaning towards Grok. They both have a free tier, but I 100% think that you will not answer the question accurately if you're not on a paid tier. Not because they're being cheap or anything and refusing to give you a good AI. It's just the cheap tier, you're just not going to get as much priority in the compute, and you're not going to experience what it can do for you. So go to Grok or ChatGPT. I say go to Grok. Get the cheapest paid plan. It's going to be $20-something a month, probably, which everybody can afford. $20-something a month. Use the app where you can click the voice feature. Don't just type to it. Use the part where you can click the button and talk to it with your voice. It's going to take a minute for you to learn how that conversation flows, because if you say anything at all, she'll stop talking because she thinks you're interrupting her. So, and just go have a conversation with it. And I would suggest one of two things. I would suggest either say, teach me how I can use you to make my life better and run my business better. Or I think an even better idea, I think what's going to work best for you and what will really guide the conversation somewhere that matters is for you to say, I want you to be useful for me, but I don't know how to use you and you don't know me yet. So why don't you start interviewing me and ask me about my business, my personal life, my goals, my desires, what I do and don't believe in. Interview me. And don't stop interviewing me. And by the way, she will stop interviewing you. There'll come a point where she says, hey, do you want me to turn that into a 6-point action plan? Blah, blah, blah. But still, just try to get her to keep interviewing you. And stay within that same conversation so she retains all of that context. And watch how useful she can be. That's the best way to answer your question. Scott said, Ray, are you paying for Claude? I am. So there's two ways to answer that question. I am not paying, how do I put it? I don't have any sort of like monthly subscription to Claude, and I don't use Claude as my go-to AI for interacting and having conversations with. What I do is I do have an API with Claude so that I'm using, so Claude, technically Opus 4.6, Sonnet 4.6 and Opus 4.6 are what run my Claude bot, my OpenClaw agent, whatever you want to call it. The brain of my digital AI assistant is Opus 4.6 with Sonnet 4.6 as a backup. It's not cheap, but it's amazing. So I am using it for that, but that's an API, not an account. So just to be clear, I'm not having conversations with Claude. I'm not telling Claude things or asking Claude things, but I'm using the API for Claude as the brain to my Claude bot. Legacy said, wow, you were there and you wore the right camo, a collared shirt. What are we talking about? I don't know what you're talking about. I don't think it's anything bad. I just don't actually, you were there and you wore the right camo. Where was I? What were we talking about? I don't know, man. I don't know. Christopher said, is AI and AGI not the genie in a bottle? Oh, man, you can make a lot of connections. Think about this. If you're religious, God spoke the universe and everything that exists into existence. And what do we do now when we want things? And where is this going? We're about to speak reality into existence around us. There's a lot of, you can compare it to a genie, you can compare it to multiple gods, you can compare it to a lot of things, and it really fits. Legacy said Iran is, Iran in your title. Right on. Yeah, we attacked Iran overnight. I was actually going to be talking about that, and just completely forgot to talk about it. But yeah, I wore the right camo, a collared shirt. Cool. Thank you, sir. All right, guys, I'm going to go hang out with my wife for a bit. Today's my day off. So I love you guys. I hope you're out there killing it, and I'll see y'all on the next one.